Today I wanted to talk about some barometers. This Welby barometer was listed when I type in clocks. When I search on shopgoodwill.com, I just type in clocks at the top and it pulls up all the different styles of clocks, and I can scroll through, and there's like usually 2,000 of them. But this was listed as a clock, and it just showed a picture kind of from the side like that, and it kind of got my curiosity. Nobody had bid on it. It was $9.99, and so I'm like, let me see what that is. So when I pulled the pictures up, this is what it was. It was a little barometer with a nice, looks like oak stained mahogany maybe. Not really sure what the wood is, but a wood case, brass dial, porcelain face with the black and red lettering. And the porcelain face reminded me of some of my Ansonia clocks. I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Let me check that out. So I kind of went, then I typed in barometers and started searching, and there were a lot for that style. Here's one with the little ship's wheels things around it that I thought would look really cool next to my ship's wheel ship's bell clocks. And so I got these, and there's another one coming today that's made by AT Company, ATCO, and I've got several more coming from Linden, and I started getting several of them, just trying to compare and figure out the date, the age of these things. This one actually has a logo on the back. It's hard to see, but it says SFV and 3 Christmas trees. So when I looked up that logo, it was from the Black Forest area. It says made in Germany, and the front says made in Western Germany. So that told me this clock was between 1945 and 1949, because West Germany wasn't established until 1949. So this was made in Western Germany, so I'm assuming the war was going on. So this one is a little bit older possibly than this one. And I was looking at the backs of them, trying to figure out the ages. The older ones have a hole in the back for you to adjust the barometric pressure, set it for what your area is. The newer ones don't. They just have a screw to do that. But that's what's down in there, is a screw. But it kind of leaves the parts open to getting dust and stuff. So this one is a lot dirtier than this one on the inside. But I've still got some dust on the inside, so I'm going to have to take these apart and clean them. You can find barometers with different scales on them. Most of them go from 28, 29, 30, and 31. Some of them go from like 26 to 32. But they're harder to read because the little scale is smaller between each number. So anyway, this Welby one, Welby was a German clock company established in 1930. And it says made in Germany. And it doesn't have anything on the back. So it may have been after the war, it may have been during the war, we don't know, because everything that came out of West Germany didn't say West Germany. So it may be newer than this one. I'm guessing it's newer than this one. But when the other ones come from the AT Company, they started in about 1930s also, and they're still in business. And then I've got one that's coming that I'm estimating between 1910 and 1940, and it has this funky little thing on the back. It kind of looks like a castle with a J and a G and an and there, and it's J.G. Guichard Company, and it's got a number of 1651 under it. So I'm kind of interested to get these and compare them and kind of date them and clean them up and get them going. There's a way to test to see if they're working at all. You take a plastic bag, you put them in there, blow up your bag, seal it, put pressure on the bag. The needle will move. If the air, the little air pillow solenoid, I can't think of what it's called. It's a little silver disc with circles in it. You can see it through the faces, and it's 2 pieces of metal welded together that they compress and seal with solder and then let go, and it creates a vacuum inside. and then the things coming off of it translate, amplify those little tiny changes in barometric pressure that change the little air cell in there, amplify it and transfer it to your needle moving. So I tested both of these last night in the plastic bag, and the needles worked on both of them. I looked up the barometric pressure for my area. I set them, adjusted the needle so that it was accurate for my altitude, and left them overnight. I set them both. And this little dial on the top is just for you to change so you can see what the barometric pressure is doing. So yesterday I set them both exactly. It was 30.46 in my area, so I set both of them, the black and the brass pieces were lined up the same. And then came back. So basically this thing on the top is just a little dial for you to turn and put on top of your black line needle, so that you can come back the next day and see is the barometric pressure going up or down, and tell you whether it's rain is coming in or not. So right now it says very dry. Don't go by the words that are written on there, because yesterday it was dry and today it's snowy and rainy. So the barometric pressure dropped from where I had my needle set at 30.46, it went down to 30.4, and I checked on my phone, and that was exactly what the barometric pressure was in our area. This one is not as accurate. It's a little dirtier, like I said, because of the hole in the back. Some more junk has gotten in there. You can tell the glass is dirty. The needle's a little harder to turn, and it was not as accurate. But it has dropped also to 30.34. You can tap them to get them to see if they work. See, this one jumps around when you tap it. It went back up to 30.36, and this one is 30.33 right now. So you can check on your phone and see. This one has been pretty accurate. This one I need to clean. So we're going to get into them and take them apart and clean them up and see what we find in there, and explain a little bit what the parts are. My coffee's kicking in. That little solenoid disc thingy in there is called the bellows, like cuckoo clocks, bellows. Okay, so I've got it sealed in the plastic bag. Notice when I press on the bag, the barometer, the black line changes. So that tells me it's still intact, so it's worth cleaning up and getting hung on the wall, right? Because all the parts are still working. They're just dirty. They are like a calendar, part of a calendar clock, or levers on a cuckoo clock or a ship's bell clock. You don't oil any parts in there. There's no friction. It's a very slow moving process, so any oil is going to gum up and affect how sensitive they are. So let's get started. So this little thing does not have to come off. This goes to the little indicator hand that you turn, and it's attached to just this front glass. So you can leave it on and take the 3 screws out from the outside of the brass case. And you will notice that there's always a screw right at the very top. So when you're putting this back on, the porcelain face, you want this 29.5 to be straight pointing at that screw hole right there, so that you line it back up right. Let's see if this will come off of here. It does not want to come off. There we go. A little grungy. So see, this is attached. It's riveted. It's not coming off of there. But it lets me be able to clean this up real good. Pretty cruddy. And then I'll be able to see it a lot better. The brass should clean up really nicely. So another little disc, and then the porcelain face just sits in there, but you got to get this hand off first, and it just pushes straight on. I believe. There we go. Maybe a little drop of oil would make it a little bit easier. Sometimes these are bent. This one looks pretty straight. So that lets you take the porcelain face out. You can clean it up. Notice there's a little notch right there. And I don't feel anything on this or the ring. Sometimes there's a little spot that you seat that little dip in right there so that you get it straight up and down and it doesn't slip around, but I don't see that. But there's the workings of our barometer. That is the bellows. There is a tiny hairspring underneath here. Let me get a little closer. There's a tiny hairspring down here. And this is called a chain. There's actually little links on the end of it right there. It wraps around this. That's what moves your needle. And the hairspring is what makes it have tension and go back to place. And so it transfers from the bellows. This little plate right here keeps the, I'm sorry if I'm zoomed in too much. Let me go back out a little. This plate right here keeps this whole bellows from collapsing on itself because there's a vacuum inside of it. So then it has this center knob with a pin through it and this arm attached to it. So as there's tiny movements in this plate right here that's attached to the bellows, it moves down this arm, transfers over to this little one coming up, and moves the chain in and out and turns your dial back and forth. So as long as you take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and clean here and there, you don't want to oil any of it, like I said, it should make it start working a little bit better. There are adjustments that you can make on this. This plate right here, you can adjust. There, if I take this out, there's screws on the end of this post right here, and you can tilt that plate right here that both of these levers are sitting on, and it will change your sensitivity of this. So if mine is off a little bit after I clean it, this is what I'm going to adjust so that it makes more motion on my needle. I will aim it down a little bit more so that it amplifies it more. If it's moving too much, then you would turn the dial back the other way and flatten the plate a little bit, and it would not move your needle as much. So that's basically it. Barometers are pretty simple and seem to last a long time because these are 80 years old and they're doing great. So let me clean this up a little bit and see if I can get it working better. So I think these movements that are in these barometers are a lot like French movements. You're never going to know who made them. The only reason I know who made this one is because they put their little SFV logo on the back of this plate. Most of them don't have any kind of logo on the back of the plate. This is the screw that you're turning when you adjust the bellows to make it accurate for your area. So I've just taken the back off, and you can see it's a little cruddy, and I thought if I took the back off that it would come out, but it is attached to this can. So the only way to get it out is to take these 3 screws out also, and then it should lift out. You don't want to turn that one like crazy, just these other ones. Let me get a little bit bigger screwdriver. So I'll get my fingers under it because I feel it releasing and dropping in there. I'm going to take these 3 out. Maybe. Alright. So now my case is ready to clean up. I'm going to take these little guys out and polish them up. And there's the barometer. And that's the whole controlling part right there. So that lets me access to be able to clean it up a little bit. And I am going to adjust the plate a little bit. Maybe though, it may not need it once it's clean. We'll see. I might give it a little tiny bit of a turn so that it's a little bit more reactive because it was a little bit sluggish. But the cleaning may make it not sluggish, so who knows. This is the first time I worked on one. I guess you can tell that. Alright, I'm going to take a little rubbing alcohol to these little connectors on this plate to make sure that they're good and clean so that this can move good. Other than that, I don't see anything else that I would really clean. The chain looks fine. This looks like a little wire. It's real sensitive. But the end of it, if you magnified it, is little tiny chain links wrapped around this. This is this arm that's on this bracket that keeps that from collapsing. This arm just has a little point on the end of it, and it sits on that plate. And the point is kind of bent out on that one. I'll have to get into the other one and look at it and see if it's supposed to be bent out like that. And then this arm is bent in. So that it really amplifies. When this moves a little bit, you can see that this is not moving much, but this one's really moving a lot because it's angled the opposite direction. So it really moves the chain and lets your hand turn. I've cleaned up as much as I would like on the brass. Not sure that that's brass, that may just be gold paint. This one was brass, so I cleaned it up good. But this cleaned up nicely. It looks like this was maybe a polyurethane. It's a super hard, shiny surface. The top was not shiny, but it was dirty. Like once I got the crud off, it was pretty shiny everywhere. So I'm happy with that. And when I was taking a Q-tip and rubbing alcohol and cleaning my little contact points on this, and I cleaned the little stem that I can't talk this morning. When I was cleaning the little arbor that the needle goes on, I noticed it goes up and down. It has some end shake in it, and the only thing that really was dirty was that, like I was getting a little bit of rust off on my Q-tip. So I did use a polishing stone and go over that real good as best I could, smoothing it off, getting all the rust off, because that would have given me enough friction to make it not be very accurate. So I did not make any adjustments on this little paddle down here. It's still the same, and I just cleaned this up good, and I'm going to put it back together and see how it works. And if I need to, I can take it out and make adjustments there. If you adjust it with it further down, small changes are going to affect it more. Further up, small changes affect it less. So if your barometer's not accurate, that's what you adjust on the sides of this plate. Alrighty, let us put this back in here. Reverse of what we did taking it apart. I do believe that was at the top. And I don't know that I got it back in the top because I took this whole thing out. So let me get this in here straight. Got my 3 screws back in on the back of this. If you got your 6 screws all mixed up, there are 3 filler stir screws for the back and 3 little pan head screws for the front dial pan. So once that is in there, we're going to put the dial back on. We need to make sure the little notch is straight at that screw. And then we're going to put our hand back on. I'm going to check the weather and put it exactly where it is right now, and then we will go from there. It still says 30.33. .33. Got a glare, can't see the lines. 30.33 is about right there. Alright, so I press that on and it immediately jumps to 30.2. Don't know what's up with that. Maybe I mashed it on too hard. It's got to have end shake. Alright, let's put the front bezel back on and then we can play with it from there. So there's the one that did look super dirty, looking pretty much brand new. And now the clean one's looking kind of dirty. This was the cleaner of the two. But now it looks all dusty and dirty. But it's keeping the right barometric pressure. So all I'm going to do is take these 3 screws out and clean this glass and this brass and the wood. And it's going to look pretty much brand new. This one, so much nicer now. My hand actually turns. I really had to struggle with it before. Now it turns nicely. It is showing 30.36 it looks like. So I'm going to adjust this little dial on the back right here. Put my screwdriver in there. Then turn it over and watch and get it to the line that I want, 0.3. Right there. Alright, so it's ready to go on the wall, and then I'll just watch it for a few days, tap it before you take a reading, and see what it does. They both are saying 30.3 exactly right now. So I guess the barometric pressure has changed a little bit again. Let's see what the phone says. Let's see. It says 30.28. So how about that? They are correct. Pretty cool that this technology is around. I don't think I told you these before this. There was mercury barometers. That's all people could use on ships or around beaches to tell if hurricanes were coming and stuff, was barometric pressure changes. And they had mercury ones, but they were not transportable. You had to keep them upright. You couldn't really move them around with you. And so these, when these came out, these are aneroid, I think is what they're called, which means they don't have liquid in the middle of them. And yeah, you can take them any which place. So I'm going to go get the third one that just got here in the mail. So this is the Welby one. This is the one I just got out of the mail, the AT Co. And it goes from 26 to 31. And is a lot newer, I feel like. That one has 3 screws in the back. That one has 3 screws in the back. The one that hasn't come yet, that's AT Co. Germany, has 4 screws in the back, and the back plate's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit older than this one. This one has an actual, you probably can't see a thing I'm doing. This one has an actual chain right here. You can see a little chain, where these, let me get a little light on here. These are solid metal to here, and then there's a little chain here that's kind of like a bicycle chain. It's not little round links. It's got, you just have to see one. It's an unusual design, almost like a figure 8, but without holes. And this one's not in a can like this one was. Like this one was older, so it was in a can and had parts on the top. This one, no can inside the wood. The back plate is the whole thing. If I take the back plate off, I've got the whole mechanism out, and then all that's on top is the piece of glass with one brass bezel around it. So this one had 2 bezels and more parts. So yeah, so this one we know is mid-40s, so this one's probably 50s, and this one's probably 60s, maybe late 60s. And it looks brand new. It looks totally clean and is keeping good time, so I don't have to do anything to it. I just washed the face up on this one, and I did not take anything out of here. I just slipped this off over my little keeper there, and this one has a little metal pin right there where that notch is to keep it in the right spot, and it has a little screw down here that I'm gonna have to loosen to put this back to hold this. Since there's no ring of any kind on the wood, they put those 2 things to hold this plate on in the right spot. So let me get the plate put back, and I'm gonna put this back on and be pretty much done for the day. They are doing good. I'm pleased with them. I hope this helped. I hope it got your interest up in these barometers. I like the oldest ones the best, that have the holes in the back, because I think they were made a little bit better. The war was going on. This is post-war. Materials are scarce. There's not as much stuff in there, and then the new ones are probably really cheaply made. The face doesn't even, this dial doesn't even line up centered on that dial, so the hands aren't even on top of each other on this one. You can't even line them up on top of each other. And that's how workmanship changed over 20-30 years. So I still like the older stuff better because it was made better. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me some comments if you got barometers, you've worked on them, if there's anything I've missed that you need to add. I appreciate it. Thanks.